All right, so we are live here on episode 8 of the Rob Anderson Show. Today, I am very grateful to have on my friend Alan Fisher, DJ, former judge, lawyer. He has his current radio show, which is on otuneradio.com, Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. It's called The Roots of Rock and Roll. It's amazing. I listen when I can, and he's got the history behind the songs, and he's got the voice for radio, and it's just an absolute pleasure to listen to that and to have you on today, Alan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Rob.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.
You're welcome. So, as I mentioned just briefly, can you kind of tell us, your life story? And I think you were a DJ when you were younger, and now you've come back full circle. So maybe you could start way back then and let us know kind of how that evolved.
Well, probably the first time was when I saw Elvis Presley appear on television. And I said, I don't know what that was, but I want to be a part of that. So I didn't play an instrument. I didn't sing. The next best thing was DJ. And that's all I've ever wanted to be since I've been about 12, 13 years old. And there were a lot of great DJs on Chum Radio and elsewhere. And I eventually ended up as a DJ at age about 19 on a country music station.
Cool.
Wasn't exactly what I wanted. I had never heard of country music before, but that's where I ended up at CFGM. And I started on the all-night show, and then the evening show, and then the morning show. And it was a fabulous, fabulous time. I was young, I had energy, I had no fear. And I was there for about 4 years, Rob.
Oh, very cool, very cool. And yeah, I know I have a similar story about when I was 19. I finally, I was going to clubs, and I have some friends. Actually, I started going to like after hours parties that before I was old enough to even go to the bar, 19. And then I started hanging around with people and like learn. And I always wanted to learn how to take those two techniques, turntables and mix DJ sets. And so I was hooked after, a couple of those. And so I can totally relate to that. And so after that, you mentioned that you eventually became a lawyer. So how did you go from aspiring DJ to law school, I guess?
Well, after CFGM, I ended up doing the morning show in Oshawa, CKLB. And then when I was going to law school, I had taken a few night courses at university. And then I ended up at law school, and I was working part-time at CFPL in London, which was really the best station I had ever worked at, because they owned the newspaper as well, and television station. So it was a lot of money, and they spared no expense, and it was a pleasure to work there as well. But eventually, I did go back to school, first some university, then law school, and there was a real grind, a lot of patience. Eventually ended up graduating as a lawyer, called to the bar. I was under the impression you get a drink and a real celebration, but no, that wasn't it. Anyway, I became a member of the bar in, I won't even tell you the year because it was way back when, but I was a lawyer for probably 12 years anyway. And then I was appointed as a deputy judge, small claims court. And I did that part-time and then full-time in 93, full-time part-time in 93. And I worked until 2019. So in a way, although I was a high school dropout, I had kind of reached the pinnacle as far as human nature is concerned, as far as most people would think, oh, that's the top you can get to. A doctor, if you're really stupid, as the comedians would say. But anyway, and I can tell you that it really doesn't mean, although it takes and perseverance, it is a special language. People look up to that as they do doctors, that sort of thing. But deep down inside, you know that you're just a human being, you know? And I never got confused about that. I never became the role. I never became anything other than a human being and what I was deep inside.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and a lot of people kind of forget that along the way, and you know, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you the past few months. We're usually hanging out at least once a week on our call. So you've told me your story personally about kind of you had that aha moment. I think you were at a convention or something, right? And so tell me how if that was a shift in consciousness for you, and was that the only one you've ever had, and how did life look like afterwards? Because a lot of people that I speak with, it kind of changes, and I think people who have better balance in their lives already, it might not affect them so much, but people who are headed in the wrong direction, sometimes it's like you have to go 180 degrees. Was that like that for you, or was it more subtle and just like, oh, I get it now?
Well, I suppose it was subtle. And I'll start with the first thing that happened. Was I was in university before I got to law school, and there was a sensitivity weekend. I was taking psychology, humanistic psychology, Carl Rogers, that sort of thing, with a wonderful, wonderful professor. And he had a sensitivity weekend. And you go around the room and everybody says how they're feeling at that moment. And you kind of realize that you feel different in every moment. And it's a focus on the now. So after the weekend, you felt so close to people because it was being present in the moment where life happens. It wasn't conceptual, it wasn't thinking, it was just being there. How do you feel now? How do you feel now? And you realize, as I say, that changes. And certain people that you put in a little box and categorize, they would change over the weekend. And some would loosen up, some would become more uptight. Anyway, that was the start of it. And I found that I was really close to some of the participants. And I went away for a debating weekend to Kingston, Ontario.
Okay.
And that's strictly mental, and it's at a certain level. But there was a lady there. She was actually a professor's wife, and she had an open heart. And I could really talk to her. And it was such a pleasure. And we remained close for many years. In the midst of this intellectual exercise of a debating weekend, the heart was open, and I had someone to communicate with. The next thing, I suppose, was this convention or gathering. When I was actually practicing law, a lot of my clients were involved in a motor vehicle accident. And they dealt with doctors and chiropractors. So I met a couple of chiropractors, and they seemed to have it all together. And I thought, gee, these guys are all right.
Yeah.
They invited me to a party once. And again, there's such open people, and everybody's hugging and all that. Then one of them invited me to this workshop. I thought it was a chiropractic convention, but I said I'd go. I didn't know why I was going, but I said I'd go. And everybody seemed rather open and friendly and huggy. And so there were speakers all through the day, different speakers. And I was fresh out of law school and I'm analyzing all day, what the heck are they talking about? Because everybody up until then, I thought, was selling something. So I thought, are they selling Amway? Are they selling Bibles? Are they selling camps? What are they selling?
Yeah.
And I developed the biggest headache of my life trying to analyze all this. And then finally, about supper time, my head blew, my headache blew, and my heart opened. And it changed me. It changed me profoundly. And I realized, wow, there are some people in this world of integrity. And I realized that the only thing they were selling was life. Life. And you can't put a price tag on that. You can only experience that. So for all those who are caught up in their role now, be it lawyer, doctor, accountant, garbage collector, whatever your role is, that's not who you are. Beyond your relationships as father, grandfather, husband, brother, there's something inside you that you know you're alive. And that's what I began to realize, is that I was alive, that there was something inside of me beyond the roles that was living. I was a living being. And I began to spend more time meditating, being still, being quiet, and allowing life to unfold again in the moment, in the present moment, getting in touch with where life really is. So maybe that's enough for now.
Well, thank you for sharing it, and I understand. Maybe a few years ago I wouldn't understand exactly what you meant, but I think I've gone through similar like levels, and yeah, you recommended The Power of Now a few months ago when we first met, and I was able to read it. I think it was back in, well, it was when I was moving, so I guess the end of May, early June, and it was like every day I would try to read at least 40 minutes or whatever, even 20 minutes, right? And it was kept me grounded, and everything was going on, and it was like my life circumstance was just exploding, right? And I was like, oh, it's okay, like it is what it is, right? And I really liked what you said about how do you feel now? How do you feel now? And I did one of those earlier this year with the meditation. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, kind of thing. I was like, yeah, I'll go, because people invited me to all a bunch of fun things, and then so we had like this breakout session, and we went in, and people were doing that, and we had to do it for like, it seemed like an eternity. It was only 10 minutes, but they just kept on asking you, and I was like, I'm friggin' doing fine. Like, I'm gonna be the same fine the whole time. But then I realized I wasn't, and like, thoughts were coming and going, feelings were coming and going, and so that kind of changed. But it getting through it was interesting, because at first it kind of feels uncomfortable, because you're just sitting, even though it was on Zoom, it was just one-on-one with another person, and were doing it back and forth. And at first I was like, this is super awkward and weird, and like I almost felt like I was being pranked, like somebody was gonna be like, okay, just kidding me, like. But yeah, it was a very profound experience, and then not only somebody asking me, but then me asking another person and being present for them and how they felt. It was just really, yeah, a kind of surreal connection that, like, it takes you out of your game. It was like Monday morning at 9 a.m., not like having a few beers at the pub, which was like, yeah, I'll do that all night till 4 a.m. But when you're just, forced to do it, when you're totally, not expecting it, it's very profound. And so I know that you speak highly of Eckhart. Was that reading his book? For me, it was super interesting, and it's like, I think it comes to everybody at the right time. And I read A New Earth 10 years ago, but at the time, like, I wasn't surrounded by a group who were really reading those kind of books, or at that level. Not that it's higher or lower or anything. It's just that's where I was, and I didn't have anybody to really like spitball the ideas with. So it's kind of like that that thinking goes on the back burner and I'm back into it, And so, how did that book, did it affect you? Did it give you some, like some aha moments? And what would it be, like one of the top recommendations for you, or would you recommend something else to somebody, say they're just having kind of this existential crisis no matter what their age, and they're looking for more, but they're not sure that, they don't want to get into too deep, just like an introductory reading?
Well, I'll go back to my transformation. There was a group of people who already were doing it, people of integrity. And I remember I met this one gentleman. He was actually a doctor and a soccer player from Australia.
Okay.
And I admired him so much. He seemed so clear, so intelligent. And he said, and I'll never forget this, if you can see it in me, it's in you too. So hopefully somebody out there will see it and feel it and experience it in us. And if they can, they have it too. So I was with this particular group, if you like, of individuals, not a collective, but individuals, for many years. But recently, and I would say probably in the 90s, I came across Eckhart Tolle, and he was the clearest, most humble spiritual teacher I had ever heard. So although I had followed a spiritual path and I was aware of a lot of spiritual teachers, and I can throw out a few names: Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Dan Millman, Bernie Siegel, Dr. Bernie Siegel, many more. But Eckhart Tolle is so right on. I've never heard him utter an untrue word. So yes, I really recommend him. It's not about trying to memorize something. It's not about trying to imitate somebody or follow somebody, a guru or anything else. It's a matter of your own experience. Until you have your own experience, it means nothing. People can talk about it. People can point the way, including Eckhart Tolle. But unless you have your own experience. And you mentioned, Rob, thoughts in the head. And I'd like to talk about that for a second, because people think, well, of course I have thoughts in my head. That's what I've been using all my life. That's my tool to deal with reality. Yeah, that's how it seems. And people identify with their minds, especially people who have been successful using their minds. An engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, you name it. If you have been successful at that, then that's your modus operandi. And you certainly don't want to give that up. You cling to that. All the knowledge that you have, all the things that you know about. Yeah, you know about them conceptually. But Eckhart Tolle gives the example of a sunset. You can write a PhD about a sunset. You can be conceptual about a sunset, how it happens scientifically. But to be in awe and to just enjoy the sunset and the beauty of that. Or an orange, you can describe it, but until you taste it, it means nothing. Mm-hmm. And the same with this. So there are thoughts going in our heads all the time. The voice talking in our head. It usually means that we're dealing with the future or the past, worrying about the future and all the things that could possibly happen, and the mind goes crazy. All the problems in the world. and And I don't think that's an understatement. All the problems in the world are caused by thinking, self-active thinking. Self-active thinking. The thoughts in the head about the future, or regrets about the past, worrying about the past, or whatever. But if you can stay in the moment, I'm touching my face now. You drink now. You blink now. You breathe now. Now is the only time you're experiencing life. You're experiencing living. Nobody has ever gone to the future and come back. The future is imagination. The past has already happened. The only time we have is now. Therefore, what is your attitude now? What are your thoughts now as far as experiencing through your touch, sight, hearing, tasting, through the senses? What is your experience now? As you look around and feel within, feel your hands. Feel the movement in your hands, the movement in your body. Feel gravity weighing down on your body. Amazing. And what about nature? I know you love nature, Rob.
Don't even get me started.
Well, you know, it's fresh air. In other words, what we're breathing inside is stale air.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we call it fresh air outside. You know, so go for a walk. Appreciate the trees, appreciate the leaves, even appreciate the changing of the seasons, the wind on your face. You know, we can't see what causes all that, but we can experience the effects of life. And think about this. Life, source, God, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter what you call it, works miracles through 4 elements: water, air, earth, and fire. That's the clay. That's all they work with. She or he or they or it works with. You know, and the wind comes in the fall, and the trees shake off their leaves, and all through the wind. And then the rains come, the water into the earth, absorbs all that so that things grow in the springtime. And the sun is, I follow the sun all year round because I go to Florida. The sun is the source of our light and warmth. So through those 4 elements, we have life sustained on planet Earth. And people talk about climate change and all the things that go on with that. Yeah, 4 elements. Appreciate those 4 elements and get aligned and in harmony with those 4 elements. And we are a part of nature. What grows us from little babies? And you and I, Rob, were little babies once, and we were so cute and so lovable. We still are. We're perfect. And life grew us from little babies to little kids to teenagers, and then in our 20s and 30s, and eventually we lose our hair, maybe some of us, but it's life that is doing all this. And quite frankly, for women, you know, growing them into their shape. Don't take credit for it, ladies, and I know you can enhance different things, but life grew you. Be content with that. Be proud of that. Every one of them is beautiful. And we are beautiful in our way, too. Mm-hmm. You know, and it all works through hormones. Amazing. Amazing how we are built and made.
I couldn't agree more. And you know what? I love how much you speak with passion, and it's like source flowing through you. So I always love to, when you go in that and get in that zone, I can tell. So yeah, thank you for sharing that all. So many amazing parts. I tried to write some stuff down, but I can't really top what you just said. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people are missing out on our lives, and people don't understand that a lot of it has to do with programming. And you know, it, it's it's interesting when you go through these moments and you have these aha moments, and you think, wow, like this life is way more beautiful than we ever, it's like the saying says, stop and smell the roses. When's the last time you did that? When's the last time you just went out and tried to turn your mind off? That's, I ride a motorcycle. That's like my forced meditation. And for anybody who's watching who doesn't know how to meditate, buy a motorcycle. I'll teach you how to ride it. But yeah, so it puts you in that now moment, like you were saying, right? That present, because that's all we have. So when I go on my motorcycle, it's like I know that it's dangerous, so I have to be present. If you like, you see, pretty lady on the street, you're driving by, you can't look because you turn back, somebody slams on their brakes in front of you, you're going into their back seat. There's no cage around you. You're naked out in life, and you have to use your, like almost like a super awareness around you at all times. And if you don't, even just doing a blind spot check too long, like, I've done that, where it's like you look and you have to be very quick. So it forces you to be in that present moment. And then being out on the open road, you're not thinking about your bills, you're not thinking about Christmas gifts, you're not thinking about the problems, coulda, shoulda, woulda, you're not stressing about the future. It's just, okay, here I am, like, this is it. And taking it all in. What did source or creator or God or the infinite intelligence, the universe, make for us? Like, this is all naturally ours. We don't need to own it. We don't need to own property to enjoy planet Earth. Well, so some places you have to pay to get in, but for the most part, you can go and enjoy the abundance and just take it all in and appreciate it for what it is. And there's so many things like that. I guess you have an appreciation as you grow older. When we're young, it's like they say, what's the saying? Youth is wasted on the young, right? Because it's like, wow, yeah, nobody teaches these things, and maybe that's all part of the magic. Is that you have to. That's part of the mystery and the game of life, is the learning it yourself, right? Because there is no handbook. And I mean, I asked for a book recommendation, and it's so hard to say because every person's individual, right? Like you said, and it's just, creator's got us all on our own paths, and I think we're all going to get home there eventually. But people, I think you just got to learn to let go of the thoughts in your head, and you're not your thoughts. Your life circumstance isn't who you are. If you lose your job and your life sucks and you hate your family, you don't have to throw yourself off a bridge, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just, maybe you're going down the wrong way, right? And that's a huge part. And I think that, given all the things that have been going through the let's say political and health climate the past few years, I think it's forcing people to take a look at what they're doing with their lives. And we had to stay home, and it divided people a lot. I've seen it divide people, but I think it's really setting people on their true paths, because it made this line in the sand, and it forced some people to say, hey, I'm not living my authentic life. And so yeah, it's a lot of, we talk about it when we get together and stuff, and Carl says it a lot too, and I think I've experienced it, just maybe, and I know other people, from speaking about trauma as a catalyst for these awakenings. Like, even the day when I severed the top part of my thumb off, that was a sign for me. I wasn't, the part of my mind was like, poor me, why did this happen to me? But I knew the other side of me, the spirit side, knew that, hey, this is a sign for you to slow down, stop rushing, stop overthinking, stop trying to get everything done in the one day, stop trying to solve the world's problems, everybody else's problems, and just relax and enjoy your life and honor who you are and what you came here to do, even if it's not what your mom or your dad or your coach wants you to do. It's what do you want to do? How do you want to spend your life, and how are you going to get, and like you said, we only have this moment. We don't have to worry about the top of the staircase. We just have to worry about the next step. And once you start taking those next steps that are in line with the future that you want to have, all that other stuff's going to fall away. And it might be messy, it might be tough. You're going to be climbing up the mountain, and you'll slide back down a few times maybe, but one step forward, two steps back. But you're going to realize that it's okay to keep going, and it's okay for things to pass, and it's okay for things to die. And relationships, sometimes they're a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? And it's okay to let go. And you said, letting go is really hard, and attachment is really hard. And when life doesn't go the way you expect it, are you the kid throwing in the sandbox like, you can't play here, or are you saying, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess it wasn't meant for me? And that's hard to get to that point, right? Would you say that had you ever experienced any like trauma as a catalyst, or major life changes, passing of a loved one, or just something that was, that set you in a different direction?
Well, first of all, beautifully said, Rob. I agree with everything that you've said.
Thank you.
And how's your other thumb?
It's kicking ass and taking names.
How beautifully we're made, eh?
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't appreciate things until they're gone. So give thanks for the healthy part of yourselves. Okay. Did I have trauma in my life? Well, my whole childhood was trauma because, as you said, most people had programs that they wanted me to follow, teachers, parents, and that sort of thing. I'll give this example. Let's say you're born into ancient Greece or Rome, and everybody's wearing a toga and going to the forum. So you are born and you look around you and say, how do I fit into this world? Everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. Oh, I guess I'll do it too. Well, that's what happens to us. At age 4 or 5 or 6, they drag you to school, and you go into kindergarten, and you come out grade 13, grade 12, or university, and you're programmed. You're programmed. All the stuff that you have learned in there, or they want you to learn, you are told that you're 63%, or you're not good enough. That's the biggest thing, is you're not good enough, or you're bad, or whatever it happens to be. And you absorb that, especially the young people I'm talking to. You absorb that and you think, oh dear, I'm not good enough, or how should I fit in, or whatever. And I'm here to tell you, and I think Rob was saying too, you're perfect. You are perfect just the way you are. Okay? Perfect. I don't care if you're overweight. I don't care if you have any sort of handicap or whatever. Those are all concepts. And as Rob was saying, you can change. You can go down a different street. You can live in a different neighborhood. You can change the channel. We have volitional consciousness, which means that you have a choice. You have a choice to follow your own heart, to follow your own drummer. And again, what you said, Rob, is becoming aware of that. Aware of your surroundings, aware of your programming, aware of what's going on around you. Mandatory. What does that even mean? Mandatory? No, I'm free. I'm free to choose. I'm free to choose. I'm free to be me. And I don't know how anybody can deny that they are an individual. I mean, do you become invisible? Do you negate yourself? I think the first thing you have to do is say, I am. I am alive. And that I have the power to choose. I have the power to be aware. I have the power to live how I choose. And as Rob said, that can involve certain roadblocks. It can involve, well, you're going against society. You're going against thousands and thousands of years of programming that said only your mind is who you are. Oh, you may have a little body that goes along with it, but you are your thoughts. No, you are perfect. You are a creation of life. And you are magnificent. You are perfect. Stay in the moment. Follow your heart. Follow your passion. And take time to be still. Take time to know what is right for you. It could be a gut feeling. No, this isn't right. This is what I should be doing. Not just following along, not accepting somebody thinking that you're 63% or not good enough or throwing shame on you or guilt. Forget it. I don't want that. You talk about non-attachment. I don't want to be attached to shame. I don't want to be attached to guilt. And I don't want to be attached to my beliefs. I don't want to be attached to a certain place. So it means a lot to be non-attached to things, to thoughts, to people, and that takes some doing. So now back to my trauma. It was after my change in consciousness that I was going along following these individuals of integrity, and I thought my wife, because I was married at the time with 1 or 2 children, I thought she was right there. I thought she was following along with me, but no, she was on my coattails, and she didn't really have the experience. So eventually we kind of separated and went our different ways. And that was traumatic, especially losing my children, losing my family.
Yeah.
I'm happy to report that my sons are wonderful, wonderful guys. They have kids of their own. And we're close. You know, we talk a few times a week. And I have great respect for them. I am so proud of them. One is a doctor of Chinese medicine. The other is an artist working for Parks Canada. But they're individuals. I'm just amazed at what they've done and who they are. That's the biggest thing, who they are, because they're both people of integrity. So I've maintained that connection. All is not lost. And that's the biggest thing, Rob, as you were mentioning. You won't lose all those things that are true. They will still be there. Now, it may be a relationship. It may be your thought about this or about that. It may be the knowledge that you have. I mean, you're not going to suddenly become a baker or a photographer if you have no experience in that, or if you have no knowledge in that. You may have to acquire some knowledge in that. But the things that are true about you will be there on the other side. You don't have to worry about that. So people hear the word surrender or the phrase let go, and they think, oh my goodness, who am I then? Well, let's start with 0 and everything. You are nothing, no thing, but you are everything. You are connected to all of life. And that is a wonderful starting point. And then, oh, I still have my face, I still have my body, I still have my senses, I still have life within me. So as you were saying, Rob, I can choose a different path. I can, with all those abilities, with all those talents, with all that I've had up until this point, I can do that and follow my heart. So, yes, I've had trauma in my life, but I've had miracles. When getting into this wonderful state of pure bliss, of pure now, of pure life, then miracles start to happen. that you couldn't even imagine with your mind. People try to think, well, if I get insurance and if I put money in the bank and I get interest at 2%, forget it. I've got better miracles for you. Wonderful miracles. How a place in Florida can suddenly open up. How wonderful friends can come your way, people you can talk to, people you can resonate with. So wonderful things can happen, miracles can happen when you get out of the way, when you stop your self-active thinking and experience true thinking. By being present, by being still, then you know with your entire being what is the right thing to do, what is the thing of integrity to do.
Well said. I love it. I love it, Alan. Thank you for delivering it like that. And I love it's when I was like, I could keep going. I'm like, I'm not gonna. I'm like, I hope my alarm doesn't go off because I'm listening to Alan go. But I love what you were saying and letting go and getting out of your own way. It seems it's like one of those things like and for men, men aren't supposed to let shit go. We're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to fight. And so if you as a man in our society, the way we've been conditioned and raised and the societal pressures, letting go is like a sign of weakness almost, right? Like we're supposed to fight, we're supposed to be strong, we're supposed to support the family, we're supposed to letting go is not an option. And I think that's really difficult for a lot of young men to understand. It was difficult for me, for some of my friends. I have multiple friends that took their own lives over the years, and because they felt that they couldn't let go, like that was the only way out of their life situation, right? And yeah, sure, maybe some people are going to say things to you if you walk away from a fight, or not everybody's going to agree with you 100% of the time, right? And there's a saying, I forget who says it, but a man is rich in rich in the amount of the things he can afford to let go of, and it's true, right? And that's the thing I realized over the years, having sometimes having all this stuff, it just weighs you down and all these things, and you're not living your true life. It's just this life that you acquired based on programming, right? And so, yeah, I guess coming to that and letting go, how would you say that for yourself? You said you started getting into meditation. Was that, I know for me, it took me about, the first time I think I tried meditation, when I always tell this story, it's, I was about 6 years old in Taekwondo, and I remember sensei saying, we're going to do meditation for 45 minutes this class. And I was like, I want to learn punches and kicks. Like, that's what we're paying you for. What do you mean we're going to just sit here? Like, in my little mind, that's a waste of money, right? And I didn't get it. Even taking jiu-jitsu again when I was 16, about 10 years later, I was better at it, but I didn't want to be sitting there. It's hard to sit alone with your thoughts, right? Because then you have to face the fact of that and realize that a lot of the shit that you've made up about your life was your overthinking. And that's tough for people to say, because we want to blame other people. We want to say it's the government. We want to say it's my ex-wife. We want to say it's my family. We want to say it's my boss. But it's not. It's how you think about it. And so what would you say as, an introductory to meditation for somebody who's, that stuff's for, like that's for hippies. Yeah. Well, if you're going to die of a stroke, maybe, if you don't learn how to do it. So what would you suggest somebody, maybe specifically a man my age, 38, would do if I'd never done meditation? How would you enter it? How would you get into it without it being too pie in the sky, spiritual, right? Like just getting, I mentioned, I do it through motorcycling. How would you suggest you do it?
Getting comfortable with yourself. We're so used to noise. We're so used to time. We're so used to going fast. We're so used to distractions and diversions. Turn it off. Turn it off. You won't die. You may be bored for a few minutes. It may be difficult for a few minutes because you're not used to it. We're used to, going fast. Bum, 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 bum. You drive your car, you come up to a red light, and the radio beside you is blasting the bass so loud. Boom, 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 boom. That's everything around you, really. And you turn on the television, they are going 100 miles an hour. Everything is going so fast. And that's our society that we are living in now. It is so crazy. Take a walk. Take a walk in the country to ease into it. And you realize that it's okay to just slow down. You can pick up your problems later. Just slow down in the moment. You're not going to lose $1 million. Life is not going to pass you by. And let's take the word accomplishment. We've got to accomplish. We've got to have ambition, as you were saying, especially men, Rob. But now it's women too. To get ahead. Ahead of what? Ahead of what? Death? You know, we're so intent upon the finish line that we forget to live. Or we're so afraid to die that we're afraid to live. Cherish each moment. And the ironic thing about it is you will have more time when you meditate, when you are still, when you just take one moment at a time. I know that when I was practicing law, maybe I'd have 100, 150 files on the go. I would force myself to put one file on the desk and just deal with one thing at a time. And slow down. Slow down. When people would, I would be the last to come into the courtroom. All rise, and I'd come into the courtroom. And the minute I would sit down, some lawyer would stand up and say, Your Honor, I blah, blah. And I would just say, hold on. Let's just take a moment to calm down. Forget your arguments for a moment. Forget your nervousness. Forget all the things that happened to you the night before and this morning. Just take a moment now. You're here now. And that would calm everybody down a bit. And, just make them realize, hold on, this guy is either crazy or putting people at ease a bit. Okay, so now that we're calmed down a little bit, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. When you yell, I can't hear you. So people raise their voice and then they think they're going to... No, I can't hear you then. Calm down. I can hear you. Talk to me in a quiet voice. Talk to me calmly. Leave your emotion out of it. Emotion is just caused by the thoughts in the head. Calm down. And let's be still. And let divine intelligence, source intelligence, come into your thinking. And then you will speak intelligently. Because right now, everybody, and you're not going to like what I have to say, most people on the planet, maybe everybody, is insane. Is insane because they are controlled by their thoughts in the head, and their opinions, and their beliefs. That they have been programmed to accept. And they cling to that. What if you let them go? You'll still be alive. So I would suggest taking a walk in nature, slowing down, concentrate on your breathing. Try to feel your heart beating. Try to feel life coming through you. That's the most important thing in the world. More than your opinions, more than your beliefs, you are alive. Get in touch with that. Because life is what is animating every human being on the planet, every living thing, including us, is animated by life. There is only one life. Think about this. It is animating everything simultaneously. I was talking about my children before. I don't know how to make ears. I don't know how to make hair. Obviously. I don't know how breathing works. Life does. So I get out of the way, I give thanks for that life force that is animating me and everyone in the world simultaneously. And if we could acknowledge, if we could recognize that there is that superior intelligence that is unified and in harmony, then I think there would be peace on earth, harmony in the world. We talk about Christmas, it's coming. Well, people say peace on earth, goodwill to men. The part before that, Rob, is glory to God in the highest. Then peace on earth, goodwill to men. Glory to life, which is the highest, and then there'll be peace on earth. Before that, without that, there is insanity and fighting and war.
Well said, and I agree. I can't say there's anything in there that I would have to pick on. And that's the thing, being present in the moment, and it's really difficult and it takes practice, right? And you said going for a walk. That was one thing when we went into lockdown. I was jogging at the time, and I was like, what am I running to or from? Like, to save 10 minutes on my day, just rushing to get through my workout. I wasn't enjoying it. So one day I think I was like mid stride, or the day before, I was tracking my runs, and I like set my quickest run for 5K or whatever. And then after that, I was like, what's the next step? I'm just going to drop dead on the sidewalk or something, trying to beat my previous day's run or something. That's all fine and dandy. But for some reason, it was like, source, God, infinite intelligence, the universe was like, Rob, just walk, man. Just enjoy the scenery, enjoy nature. Look at things like you're looking at them for the first time with a childlike curiosity, right? And that's the power of it. And it's like, wow, like, somebody said to me one time, like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And it's so true. It's like, God doesn't care about your incessant thinking and about how you think the world should turn out, how somebody should get back to you in 24 hours into your email, or, like we're so consumed by what other people should be doing according to how I think I'm going to, and that's how I think people get lost in the law of attraction and manifestation, is that they think that if they think about stuff, it's just going to happen, but they don't realize that you're not in alignment. And I liked when we were chatting with Franco, God rest his soul, that I resonated with what he said. He said it's the law of alignment, not the law of attraction. Because you can think about that red Ferrari all day, but unless you're living it and in alignment with that type of lifestyle, it's not coming to you ever. And you can only do that through, like you said, stillness, and through acceptance that the universe has a divine plan for everybody, whether you want to think so or not. And whether you believe karma is real or not, it is. That's why you don't get, and you should be grateful for things that we don't have instant manifestation right now, because a lot of the things that you think you want would actually be a curse if you got them. Like, there's some cultures and that believe that winning the lottery is a curse, things like that. So be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. It looks like somebody's coming in there. Is that Mr. Carl?
It
Oh, you
is.
guys planned that one out.
Either that or it's a burglar. I'm not sure which.
Well, we're recording, so there will be evidence, Your Honor.
Okay, there he is. But it's interesting that Carl should appear at this time, Rob.
Yeah.
But I was going to say the words will be forgotten, perhaps, what we have said today. But the example of two men, now three, in agreement and in alignment, you use the word alignment, that's unusual. Usually we're competing. Usually we're trying to outdo each other, outsmart each other, that sort of thing. But the fact that two men, three men, and even more can be in agreement, in alignment, in harmony, and get along, that I think is the greatest testament to what is possible when we let go, when we surrender, and allow life to live through us. And that's the other thing about allowing is the ego is gone. The self is gone. The small self is gone because we are not this personality or these thoughts. We are life animating through this form. And when you realize that, then you don't take credit, you don't take blame, you just allow life to come through. I'm not reading a script now. I'm just allowing life to come through. I don't know where these words are coming from. It is just coming through this form at this time. And I know with what you've said too, this is spontaneous, unscripted, and the greatest, I think, testament to all of this is the fact that we are in agreement. We are in alignment. And there's no fighting. There's no conflict. And that's one of the biggest changes that the world has yet to see is people in harmony. Because they're always fighting, because they're insane and they're just following their opinions and beliefs and their thoughts in their head.
Well said, Alan. I agree, and I guess we should probably wrap it up there. But like I said before we started, I'd like to do a couple more with you. So if you'd agree to coming back on next month, I think we could continue the conversation and really go, a little bit deeper and talk about some of the things that we weren't able to touch on today. Because I know you and we could probably talk for hours about it. So. In parting, I know that the past, well, I guess we're coming up on a year and a half, almost 2 years, with what's going on around the world, and people who feel disconnected from maybe their old way of life. What would you say, is the first step? I always tell people, if you're watching this, reach out to me, or, if you want to talk to Alan, I'll send you the email as long as you're not creepy, as long as you're not too insane. But yeah, having those conversations, those conscious conversations, getting the ego out of it, and I try not to say that word depending on who I'm speaking with, because people don't understand what it means, or there's different interpretations or definitions of it. But letting go of the way you thought the world was, because you might not have it right, and just being open-minded, letting your imagination say, what if I am wrong? What if, or what if this, what if the truth that I have in my heart isn't necessarily the real truth, or maybe I can change my truth. So what would you say as some parting words of wisdom, or, I remind people to tune into the Roots of Rock and Roll on Saturday mornings, because I sometimes, like you said, I really resonated with what you said about gurus and masters, and that's all fine and dandy, but then those people become a crutch. It's like you have to learn how to just see the creator in everything, in this pen and in Zoom, in the flower on the street, and the dog in the elevator, the person at the counter at the convenience store. That's all God. It's everybody's God, right? And so, now I'm rambling, but parting words of wisdom and, any final words, people who out there going through their awakening or going through a really tough time and they don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, what would you say to those people?
Well, I think it's a time out. We've been forced to time out and take a look at what's been happening, what has been going on previously, and realize now is not the great reset, as my friend Carl would say. It's the great awakening, a time for people to wake up, come out of the nightmare of the past. Whatever you were doing before, it may not be what you need to do now. I know with me, as you said before, I'm full circle, and I'm enjoying so much this online radio show that I'm doing. It's Saturday mornings at 11, as you were saying, on otuneradio.com, and it's called The Roots of Rock and Roll. And I'm finally getting to play the music that I like and that I grew up with, and to bring back memories, some familiar stuff. But it's a matter of having fun. It's a matter of enjoying life. It's a matter of lightness. And music goes directly to our hearts without passing through the head. It's just enjoyable. It's fun to dance to, the beat. You move, and there's nothing finer than that. So whether it's DJing or whatever your passion is, follow that passion, become aware of just being alive, and know that there is an alternative to what is happening out there. What you think is reality, it's an illusion. Get in touch with the true self within, and follow your heart, follow your passion, be your authentic self, no matter what other people are saying or doing or what they think of you. That's their opinion, and they're just busy in their own heads anyway. But get out of the enslavement and be free. Be free in your mind, be free in your heart, and enjoy life.
Thank you very much, Alan, and I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing a little bit of your heart and soul with us. And tell Carl I said hi. And like I said to everybody that may be watching, if you want to chat with myself or Alan, if you resonate with one of us, don't be afraid to reach out. As you hopefully can gain by this conversation today, we're both open, honest guys that just like having conscious conversations and just like living life. And when you're living your true authentic self and you're doing the things that you love to do, everything else falls away. Like you touched on it about other people's opinions. Like, other people's opinions are none of my business. You know, what they think about me is none of my business. That's up to them. And you're going to have different relationship with every other person on this planet. The most important relationship you're ever going to have is with yourself. So start there, and the rest will, when things feel like they're falling apart, sometimes they're actually falling into place. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. I love you, Alan. I love our conversations. I look forward to doing it in person again. It's been a while since we actually got to sit down. So tell Carl I said hi, and yeah, thanks again for coming on. And I look forward to doing it again next month.
Thank you, Rob.
All right.